Waste is everywhere, and there are 8 types of waste: transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, skills. It's a popular lean manufacturing TIMWOODS acronym for it.
Waste really is where your opportunity is.
You need to find what the real constraint is in your business and where the waste is in it.
People say all the time that they want to double their sales. What do they have to do to double their sales? And I always say, well, the first thing you have to do is understand why the hell you want to do that. Get efficient first. That starts looking at waste, because efficiency really is the elimination of waste in a process. That's how you defeat the competition.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
Martin, it's good to see you. We've changed our recording schedule, and it feels like I don't see you nearly as often now.
See you about every 12 months.
No, it needs to be more frequent. It used to be Thursday mornings. Now we're into once a month, and we got to schedule something in between.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it makes it where doing something 2 or 3 hours every Thursday is a lot of commitment, right?
It's a huge commitment. It's a lot easier to do it once a month.
Yeah.
But, well, the reason we did it is it felt like there was a lot of waste. It wasn't very efficient. Where we can get into batch recordings.
You clever little devil, you. I know what you're doing.
We can record all at once on a random Tuesday in April.
And
we can get all these podcasts done.
And part of the reason is, like, I got to get out my microphone and all this stuff, and I only have to do that once. So the microphone assembly cost, if we do 3, is reduced to a third. And I don't spend a lot of time waiting around while my microphone warms up. We could keep on going. I don't have to carry it from where I keep it over to where I use it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you start thinking about it, man, I can spot problems more easily. So I don't know.
So we're going to talk about waste today for listeners. And we're going to give the famous acronym called TIMWOODS. And I think this is Toyota Production System, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, it's a popular lean manufacturing TIMWOODS acronym for it. And so I'm going to run through those really quick, and then we'll address each one. So the first one, T, transportation; I, inventory; M, motion; W, waiting; O, overproduction; O, overprocessing; D, defects; S, skills. So TIMWOODS: transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, skills. We're going to dive into each of them very briefly. Before we dive into every single one, why do you think we're talking about waste, Martin?
Well, I know why I'm talking about it, because it comes up in my mind. I had a realization the other day that if a company has a 35% margin.
We're going to dive into each of them very briefly. Before we dive into every single one, why do you think we're talking about waste, Martin?
Well, I know why I'm talking about it, because it comes up in my mind. I had a realization the other day that if a company has a 35% margin, gross profit margin that we always talk about, they have to sell $2.86 worth of stuff to make $1.
Mm-hmm.
If they save $1 in waste, they save $1 in waste. So $1 in waste saved them $2.86 of sales that they had to get for no purpose, right? If you have a 20% margin, as one of my clients who might listen to this, I know he will because I'm going to tell him to, assuming that he does what I say, you got to sell $5 worth of stuff to save $1. So that started me thinking about waste. I mean, always thinking about waste, where the real opportunity is. People say all the time, and I've mentioned this before, that they want to double their sales, and what do they have to do to double their sales? And I always say, well, the first thing you have to do is understand why the hell you want to do that. Because if you're making 2.5% of sales to the bottom line and you double them, you're probably going to go out of business. So get efficient first. So what's get efficient mean? that starts looking at waste, right? Because efficiency really is the elimination of waste in a process. And so how do you find out what to do? And I think this is the second thing they want to jump into TIMWOODS here, but how do you know what to do? Cut waste. Okay, let's start looking at our overhead. And you go, oh, we really need this, really need that. But it came up with an idea. It's called, I'm not the originator of it, but it's called sensitivity training. I don't know of anybody who does it this way, but improve every line item on your profit and loss statement by 1%. Okay, and improve means good things like sales will go up 1%. Bad things like cost of goods sold, overhead will go down, right?
Done.
So change every one of them by 1% and see what effect it has on profit. Write that down. When you've done everything on the P&L, you look for the 1% thing that has the biggest number next to it. A 1% change in that thing, probably price, maybe, will have the largest effect of anything that you looked at. Everybody can do 1% in anything. Mm-hmm. There's 1% available in everything. So go fix that one thing or go eliminate that waste. So I started thinking about that. That's great. We won't mention AI too much today, but figuring out, improving everything by 1% is kind of hard to do. It's a lot of spreadsheet jockey stuff. Tell you what, AI can do it for you in 15 nanoseconds and tell you which one. Anyway, so that is how I started recently thinking about waste. And then you and I talking about it. Of course, anybody who's truly interested in waste goes to Toyota. Well, and Paul Akers and some other
A lot of
people
other things, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that what I'll say about waste to start is that if you're in manufacturing of some kind, like we've got Jeff Finney that we've talked to. I know we've got some cabinet shops that we talk to. They're more in the lines of manufacturing, and then they install in terms of construction. But they have to think about manufacturing. They're familiar with lean manufacturing a lot more than the average construction business. And I think that for any business, service business, product business, whatever it is, you need to start thinking about your business like a manufacturing business, because there's so many great lessons you can learn from the manufacturing businesses, because they know processes, they know systems, and they've got SOPs down, and they have to build a machine. And the more you can think about your business like a machine, the more success you're going to have, and the clearer it's going to be what you do and how you do it. So that's my preface. What I'll say in terms of waste with that is that waste is such a big part of manufacturing businesses, and they're so aware of it. And that's where all of this comes from. And so you can learn a lot about waste from the manufacturing businesses. We're going to be referencing things across the board from manufacturing, and we are not manufacturing experts, but we do understand a lot of how it can apply, just like you said, to financials, to a service business, to how you lead your team, how you handle clients, all those kinds of things. And that's where manufacturing falls short, in my opinion, is the processes that are outside of the factory, right?
Yeah.
Outside of the production. So one thing I will say is that waste is everywhere. So two concepts from lean manufacturing. One, waste is everywhere. And there are 8 types of waste like we just outlined. And 2, it never goes away. You can always continuously improve. Just like you have to continually go to the gym to stay in shape, if you stop working on the waste comes back up and accumulates. Right?
So, that play on the words?
Yes.
Waste in manufacturing and waste at the gym, the middle part of your body.
No, that's too much of a pun.
Man.
It does accumulate on your waist, though.
I thought you had that written down.
No, I should. I'll add it to my book of puns. Okay, so let's get into it.
Sure.
Let's talk about what each one means. So, Tim, transportation. What does that actually mean? It's not. I mean, I don't transport things that often, but what does it actually mean? Do you want me to give it?
Well, sure.
Okay, so it's transportation between systems, between processes, between handoffs, between people transportation, sure, to the job site, but also transportation of just communication and information, right? Emails have to be transported. That's not very inefficient, but it is inefficient whenever somebody's not copied on the email. That should be, right? When it goes to the wrong email address and it goes to the spam folder, those are all waste, right? And then you think about going to the job site and leaving tools at the back at the shop, or materials back at the shop, or having to make material runs. Those are all transportation wastes that people can see very clearly, right? Any other thoughts you want to add on transportation?
Well, no, I think people know what it is. It's the movement of material and ideas and products that don't need to move. I mean, if you work on something, put it back on the shelf, then go back to the shelf and get it and bring it back. Those are little things that if you do it in a shop, you can see it eventually. It's harder to spot in contracting and service industry type things. Because they're just different by nature every day. I mean, they're similar, but they're different. And so the fact that they're similar but not the same, it's easier to not notice transportation issues.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one to understand out of all of these. Like, oh, yeah, we do have waste in our transportation, right? We don't have route optimization, for example.
Right.
We don't, even just like ones that we've talked about in the past, of the first place we go with the trucks is to the gas station in the morning to fill up the tanks and to get snacks, and that's waste, right?
Yep.
So we've talked about that before. So let's go into inventory. This one, I think I'll let you speak to inventory, and then I'm going to give a different take on it. So go ahead.
Okay. You think I might have the same take? Probably not.
Well, let's see. Let's see.
Probably not. Well, inventory is materials and costs that you have committed. You have money tied up in them, and you have space tied up, and you have risk. I can't tell you how many times working with contractors, I ask them if they have inventory. They say, no, they don't. We walk out in the shop, and there's $250,000 worth of stuff sitting there. It's got money tied up with, they actually go like a box of GFCIs. They don't know where they are. They're covered up with stuff. So they go buy a new one, and those things are $65 a piece, right? So it is definitely waste. It's an opportunity for things to be ruined, obsoleted. Not to mention you got to own a warehouse. If you had no waste, you just have the trucks and go to the job, right? And you wouldn't even need a place to park to put anything.
Right. Yeah, I think people understand that there's waste in their inventory, and they know they're wasting on materials. They're spending more than they should be. They're having to add materials because they didn't do the material order the right way, and going to Home Depot and getting stuff, but then they don't use it all. They let employees just take home inventory sometimes because they're like, I don't want it to be in the shop and be a mess. Like, there's just all sorts of stuff. What I don't think people think about in terms of inventory is kind of on the back office side, because, and not even just the back office, but you have an inventory of projects that aren't finished.
Okay.
You have an inventory of projects that aren't started. You have an inventory of tasks that haven't been completed. You have an inventory of invoices that haven't been sent, of proposals that need to be made. Those are all inventory items, in my opinion, that are being wasted. If you're not getting your proposals out really quick, you're wasting opportunities, right?
Right.
So, yeah, a different perspective a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's a different definition of inventory, but you're correct. I mean, it's not materials and products and conventional thought. But yeah, you have a backlog inventory. It's waste again. Of course, you can't do everything the same day. By that definition, there'll be some. But you can certainly cut down what you have and then what you own and what you have tied up. But you have tied up money and space and risk by judiciously purchasing correctly. And then also, it's an aside, but taking stuff back to the supply house.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Yeah.
Let them have it as their inventory.
Exactly.
Buy it again next week. Which is a transportation and motion issue. Oh. Yeah, you got to have AI to optimize this stuff, guys, but the principles are the same.
That's good. Okay, so let's get into motion. This is one that is confusing for people. Transportation, motion, what are we talking about? And the way that you would think about it in terms of manufacturing, right? Think about the individual worker and their motion, right? Can they access all of their tools within arm's reach? Are they having to walk across the factory to get a tool to be able to do the task? There's a lot of time that could be wasted for that factory worker. And if you think about pumping out maybe 1,000 widgets a day, right? Well, if you're spending 10 minutes going and finding the tool, that motion is significant. You could lose maybe 50 of your widgets in that time, right?
Yeah.
So how does that apply to construction companies, right?
Yeah.
It's all over the place, right?
Yeah. It's
And this
when you
is-
think about it, at the end of the day, it's the reason you're exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
And
do
the way
some
that I
things-
like to think about this is mentally, we context switch a lot, right? We're multitasking, and we context switch from this project to that project, to this employee, to that employee, to this client, to that client, to this thing that needs to get done on our task list, to this thing. And the context switching that you have is motion. It's motion of your brain.
Yeah.
And that is...
That's
that
more
mental-
exhausting than actually moving.
Exactly. It's
It
mental
is.
motion, right?
It is.
Yeah. And so optimizing that, right, can be extremely helpful. And it's a lot of the reason why I think it's important to have meetings, that I don't think enough construction companies have meetings. And they need to do a daily huddle. They need to do a daily production or construction meeting where they go through every project in one setting so that the motion is focused at that time, rather than all of these messages and texts and calls and random things and what's the update. You still need some of that stuff. I'm not saying that you shouldn't communicate about projects, but there should be a detailed, focused time where we talk about what we're doing today, a detailed, focused time on like, what's the status of this and what are the next things that we need to do? Because it helps with that motion, right?
Yep.
Okay. Waiting. We're now getting into the woods, TIMWOODS. I think people understand waiting, but what does waste look like in waiting?
Well, somebody's ready to do a process or build a thing or provide a thing, and it's not there, or it can be not there by either side, the person providing it or the recipient. But anyway, somebody's just standing around not doing productive work because they're waiting on something to show up or a decision to be made, whatever it is. So you hire somebody for 8 hours a day, and they actually do productive work for about 2.
Yeah.
And you need to get that up to 3 at least.
Yeah. So this comes from manufacturing where you have a bottleneck, a constraint. Maybe it's a big machine, right? And it can only handle so much, and you've got materials just sitting there waiting, right? And that's wasted time because you're waiting. But the same thing is true, just like you said, of employees that are, it can be with any handoff, right? Where things need to go from one thing to the next. And that can be within a role, that can be within a function within the company where it's going from sales to design. It could be externally with a vendor, supplier, or it could be with a client that you're waiting on. But it's just waiting, right? You're waiting for the invoice to be paid because you only collect checks. And if you started allowing credit card transactions, you would have less waiting. Now you have more fees, but you should evaluate, is it worth paying those fees? Because we don't get paid for 60 days and the cash conversion cycle is killing us, right? There's different approvals, information, someone to get back to you, whatever it is. There's waiting everywhere, right? So waiting is a type of waste. The next one, we have 2 O's, and they're similar but a little bit different. Overproduction.
Yeah, you produce more
what's your
than you
thoughts on
need
overproduction?
before you need it, and that is damaging on a lot of levels. It increases inventory, parts that you don't have. It takes space in your shop or space in your truck. People often do it because, well, we're already set up. Let's go ahead and make 5 instead of just the 2 I need. Well, besides the inventory, if you find out later that you have a flaw in manufacturing or you made a mistake in making parts that are going to go into this project, and you made 10 of them, you got 9 that are scrapped versus one.
Sure.
I mean, many reasons not to overproduce.
Well, I think we've talked about this before, but I think the main form of overproduction that happens is the scope creep and the change orders that are even influenced by the owner themselves. Oh yeah, we'll throw it in, or oh yeah, we can do that. And you're overproducing on the job.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah,
And
over-providing. Yeah.
You're over providing, maybe is the way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
But you're doing the things that nobody asked for, that wasn't a part of the scope, that wasn't, oh yeah, we can go ahead and throw that in, or we'll take care of that, or yeah, we'll add this layer to it. And those are change orders, right? And so there's overproduction in that sense all the time. But you had a great line about this, like you're maybe it was from your father, where you can't add value, you can only add cost.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is that it?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, that's part of the next one, overprocessing. But it's impossible for a company to add value to a product. They can only add cost. The market will determine whether or not that cost resulted in an increase in value. And one of the common, it's funny because it still holds, is all the features on a microwave. You know, I mean, I know how to change the clock, and I know how to hit start. Each time I hit it, it adds 30 seconds a high. Yeah, Diane can do a lot of things, but they put a lot of features in there, lost on me. Same thing on a Sony controller. Or is it Sony? Anyway, one of the controllers that you see everywhere for your TV. It does 120 functions. I don't even know what they are. Matter of fact, I'm glad to have AI.
Change the channel.
Yeah, change the channel, turn the sound up, turn the sound down, turn it off, turn it on. No, but anyway, now that I have chat and Claude, I can say, how the hell am I supposed to do this? And it tells me. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you can, that's part of overprocessing. Matter of fact, that's one of the main, which is the next O. One of the main attributes is a common thing in the cabinet business is spraying finishing the back of all the cabinet drawers.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that add value? It added cost. It added waiting time because another part you got to sand and paint and wait, and nobody cares. And it's an opportunity to screw it up because somebody painted the back of your cabinets with red paint, even though most people might not see it, they don't want it. So you got to make them again.
Yeah. Well, I still think that's overproduction. I would say overprocessing is more, it has less to do with actually producing something, producing work. It has more to do with like, oh, we have 3 people reviewing this, right? And it's before it gets out the door, right? Well, why do we do that? Well, that's how it built over time, right? Nobody knows why there's 3 rounds of review. Oh, you got to fill out a pink sheet. Why do I have to fill out the pink sheet? And there's probably a good reason for it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that.
Or there might have been 20 years ago.
Right, but there could be waste within the process, right?
Sure.
And so it's overproduction could also be like, oh, well, we generate this marketing report every week. Does anybody read it? No. Right? Like those are production. The processing is more so like a 12-step approval process to order material, right? Like, okay, what are we doing here?
Why are we doing that? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just an aside, but one of the best ways to spot that is when you let somebody go, don't backfill the position until you realize that you absolutely must. Because a lot of times you don't have to.
Yep. You don't have to. Yeah. And sometimes there's overprocessing, which can lead to overproduction, or there's overproduction that can lead to overprocessing. Meaning you're spending your time. So like I said, someone makes a weekly marketing report, right?
Right.
And you have this one person in the office who reads it every day, but does nothing with it afterwards. She doesn't talk to anybody about it. She doesn't do anything with it. She just reads it because she was given the task to read it. We're just wasting overproduction of making the marketing report and then overprocessing of somebody reading it when it doesn't impact anything in the business because nobody does anything with it. It's just a report.
But
right?
you might be hitting on the S of skills, underutilized talents.
We will
might
be
have
hitting
a
on
lady
that.
over there who completely understands what's going on in your marketing, but you never talk to her. Anyway, go ahead.
We'll get to that. Okay, so we understand overproduction, producing something that shouldn't be produced, whether that's we're manufacturing something or we're doing it on the job site for somebody that they didn't ask for or wasn't in the scope, or it's internal in the office where we're making these beautiful slide decks that could be in an email, right? Then you have overprocessing, which is using your bandwidth to do something, but doesn't need to be done. You're processing information. You're going through, 12 rounds of approval before sending the email to the customer. Hopefully no one's doing that. Then you have defects. I think everybody gets this one for the most part, but why don't you give your take on it?
Yeah, it's just an opportunity to do something wrong. Wrong dimensions, wrong place, wrong time, wrong color, wrong process. It's just doing stuff wrong. And obviously, you want to do things right. Matter of fact, that's really common advice in all my coaching. It's pretty fundamental. I just tell them, look at me, listening. Are you listening? They say yes. I say, don't make any mistakes. That one thing, if you never make any mistakes, it'll transform your life. That's my advice. That'd be $500.
Coaching session over.
Yeah. Come back next week and tell me how you did.
What mistakes you made. Yeah.
Signing up with you was number one.
Yeah, exactly.
No, how do mistakes happen? And the military is so huge on that. They go all the way back to the creation, trying to figure out cause and effect that led up to it or allowed an accident to happen. And they still do. But yeah, mistakes are mistakes. Don't do it if you can.
No, there's a lot of great things from the military that apply in all of this. I think that something that people, especially business owners, don't realize with the defects is that it really starts with you. If your employees are making a bunch of mistakes, you're either not delegating effectively, meaning you're not being clear on what to delegate and how to do it, or you don't have a system in place. And they'll point to people as the defect and the problem. But reality is it's either the system or it's you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's where it starts.
It's a harsh reality. Yeah, it's where it starts. It's the harsh reality for myself, even this week, just realizing some things that happened. And I'm like, well, no one to point to except for me.
Well,
now, obviously, you want people that think critically and they can handle things. But at the end of the day, it comes back to you.
It's most of our listeners are not manufacturers, so it doesn't apply exactly. But if you use put together a desk, like IKEA type desks that they have a bunch of holes drilled in them with CNC for the different type of attachment and fitting stuff. And you should not ever be able to put one backwards. In other words, the pins fit this way, but 4 of them fit and the 5th one doesn't if I try to do it this way. And I've put together a lot of those desks. I actually had one where you could put a part in backwards. It really made me mad because I was almost completely done when I realized. But anyway, that's one of the things. That's a design thing, but it's one of the great ways to reduce defects is can't be done wrong. Somebody will figure it out, but it's hard to figure out how to do it wrong.
The other thing is you design the system for the laziest version of yourself. Right? Can't be done. It's another way of saying can't be done wrong, right?
Yeah.
But that's, people design these systems as these ideals. Oh, it would be so great if this happened and that. And then nobody follows the system because it's too complicated and it requires too much of their input and there's waste all over the place, right? So anyways, all right. let's talk about skills. And then I want to talk about two things that I believe it's the Toyota way, where they have these Japanese terms that are interesting that I'll talk about. They're forces underneath all of it. But skills, this is really just like the way that I like to think about this is untapped employee potential, right? Your employees have so much talent and it's being wasted because you are basically restraining them. They have real knowledge of what's happening in the specific use case where you're operating at a different level. You're not even on site for some of these things. And they have thoughts and ideas and fixes that they want to implement, but they don't have a way of actually doing it.
Yeah, micromanaging or overbearing, failure to launch. You're killing your own capacity and that of your company. And one way I like people to look at that is, we talk about it a lot. If people can do things 70% as well as you can, if you're the reason you don't want to delegate, you got to delegate to them. Because otherwise you're forever restricted by your personal capacity to get things done. So having the courage to delegate and trust people to get it done is absolutely necessary. And you're paying for that talent. If they're working for you, you're just not using it. And that's how somebody becomes really cheap, if they can do their job for half the cost that they did when they started. That's how you get things cheap.
Well, I think you're right that you do have to delegate, but you don't know what you don't know. And before you can delegate some of these things, and you should be delegating responsibility, not just tasks.
Yeah.
But part of that is also listening. And that's one of the biggest keys is there a way for the person who is sitting with the problems every day that they can see very visibly right in front of them? Is there a way for you to talk to them and hear what they have to say about the problem? Because if there's not a method for that to happen, you're not even going to be aware of the things that need to be fixed and that where there's waste and there's problems, right? So if there's not a method for you to intake and to help solve those problems, or for somebody to help solve those problems, then you're not going to know what to delegate, what to work on, where the waste is, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it starts with being able to become aware of it, right? It has to become visible. Okay. So we've gone through TIMWOODS, right? Again, one more time: transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and skills. Two deeper forces that are talked about in the Toyota way. We'll link to that book for people. But there is Muri. You know what Muri is, Martin?
No, I do not.
We talked about overproduction, overprocessing, but there's overburden, right? When a person has too much on their plate, right? They're working weekends, 60-hour weeks, and it's because there's a structural problem where every day things get piled up for them and they're just overburdened. That's going to create a lot of the waste, right? That's going to create the waste in all the different areas because they are overburdened, okay? Then you have Muda, which is the opposite, underburden, if you will, right? And they don't have enough to do. That's where you have a lot of the skills untapped, but then other things happen as well, right? Now, you can see how there's like peaks with Muri and then valleys with Muda. And I don't know if I'm saying these with my Muda, like my Japanese vocabulary or pronunciation is probably off. But the next thing that impacts that, so you have Muri and you have Muda. Muri and Muda, and then Mura, M-U-R-A, is unevenness, feast or famine cycles, right? The Mura creates Muri during the peaks, and it creates the Muda during the valleys, right? You're doing Christmas lights, or you're doing landscaping, and the summer is really busy, and then the winter is really down, and then you have Christmas lighting in the winter, and then in the summer, obviously not much going on. And so these are the forces that create a lot of the waste with that we've outlined with TIMWOODS. So, yeah. How should we wrap this up? How should we talk about this for?
One thing on that
wrap
last
things up?
part, I just made me think of electric motors. If you have a motor that requires 30 horsepower, it takes maybe the equivalent electric draw for 45 horsepower to start it. And that means if you're doing I forget which ones, the peaks and the valleys,
Yeah.
you wind up with if you could just start the motor and run it at 30 horsepower, you have a level thing. If you turn it on and turn it off, you're going up to 45 and back down and up and down and all. Anyway, that's a major deal when you're planning a plant or a shop or whatever draws electricity, that they have to plan for the peak capacity, not the main.
Yeah.
And it costs you a lot more. So I don't know. That's irrelevant to anybody, but that's the way to end it because everybody's going to turn their radios off. Not their radio, their iPhone.
I think the important thing that I'll end with is that waste is everywhere, and you can have a culture of continuous improvement to make the waste visible and to work on the waste. But as the business owner, you can't fix all the waste, and that shouldn't be your mindset. You need to find what the real constraint is in your business and where the waste is in it, and then
attack.
That is where you need to work.
Yeah.
That's where you attack.
And waste really is where your opportunity is.
Oh yeah.
If you can come up with a genius new product or a new whatever it is that people want to buy and you're the only provider, good for you. But the real opportunities are to run efficiently because that's how you defeat the competition. You don't have to have. You'll take it if you can get it at a high price, but you can survive at slightly less.
Right. Well, thanks, Martin. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. You too.
If this episode brought you clarity, we've got plenty more where that came from. Check out our full library at thecashflowcontractor.com. See you in the next one.